This is John Colo at DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, what we're going to be doing is we're going to talk about the all-new Sedona Supreme commercial dehydrator that is now available on the market at DiscountJuicers.com. Tribest is making dehydrators for many years now. They originally came out the original Sedona dehydrator, then they upgraded that, came out with the Sedona Combo dehydrator. Then they improved on those models and came out the Sedona Express dehydrator, and now their latest model is the Sedona Supreme, and this is the Supreme model, built to commercial quality standards with commercial electrical approval. And this is a 9-tray dehydrator, and in this episode I hope to go over all the different facets and what makes this dehydrator different than other machines on the market. I'm going to show you guys the pros, the cons, and everything. Just based on my experience dehydrating now for over 20 years, to be able to preserve my food, keep more enzymes, keep more nutrition, and more importantly, get more fruits and vegetables in me. So the first thing I want to say about the Sedona Supreme dehydrator is that it is commercial, and it does have a full 10-year warranty. There's many imported dehydrators now coming in from China that I kind of wonder about the safety of, and they have short warranties. With the Sedona Supreme, this is a quality unit made in Korea. Actually, I visited the factory where this unit was made several years ago. And, it's a solid, good performing machine and a good, solid company, Tribest, to stand behind it. Now, the next thing that I like about this machine is that it has a full total of 9 trays, and these trays are fully stainless steel. Right? So you guys can see that. Now, there are pros and cons to stainless steel trays here. The pro is your food will not be touching plastic. Most plastics on trays are non-BPA, but some still may be. And in general, on plastic, depending on the kind of plastic, generally dehydrated food is easier to remove than actually on stainless steel. Like if you just cut some tomatoes, put it on here, and then try to peel the tomatoes off when it's done, really the stainless steel will stick to the tomatoes. So you have to almost scrape them off with a spatula or something like that. So I do like to use some non-stick material to dehydrate on, which I'll go over at the end of this episode. And I guess before I go into anything else, what I want to do is I want to measure this machine. This is their large capacity dehydrator, so you're going to be able to dehydrate more at once, but that being said, it is kind of large. So if we measure this, it looks like it's about 17 inches side to side, and going from the exact back to the handle where it comes out, it's 19 inches deep, but they have these little pegs on the back that I'll show you guys in a little bit that extend it from the wall so you guys could get good ventilation. So that means from the wall in the back to the front of the handle is approximately 21 3/4 inches. And then of course on the tallness it is approximately 14, a little bit bigger, taller than 14 1/4 inches tall, right? So that should fit under most standard cabinets. Now this does have a nice glass door, and this has some pretty cool computer controls that we'll talk about in a minute. But I want to talk about other things that set the Sedona Supreme dehydrator apart from other machines on the market. So the main thing right here is on the back, and on the back here you guys can't really see that, and I probably would need to unscrew that with a Phillips head screwdriver. But in the back here, where they have a filter, this filter element is washable and cleanable, and they do give you an extra filter element, and this is what it looks like. Kind of looks like the filter element that might go in your air conditioning unit, and you would not ever use your air conditioning unit without a filter, because why? Have you guys ever changed your air conditioning unit filter? I'm sure you guys have, hopefully, or at least have somebody do it for you. And have you looked at it when it comes out? When it comes out, your air conditioning filter, oh my God, it's caked on dirt, but you don't see dirt floating around in your house. You like to think you have a clean house. But there's all these micro particles of dirt and dust and debris, bacteria and things that come in when we're opening and closing our doors and just, in our house. And so that's why the filter element is so crucial in my opinion, because the air that's being drawn in the machine as it's sucking air in, it's going to suck clean air in, so you're not going to get any kind of food debris, when dehydrating in the Sedona, Supreme model. Like most other dehydrators actually don't have filters, so that's really nice, and they give you one extra. Now the other thing that's unique is they do give you an IEC cord. This is just a standard cord, and this is actually a nice heavy duty cord, probably the most heavy duty I've seen. After all, this is a commercially approved model, it says right here, commercial use. And it basically just plugs in right here. Now, one of the things, I guess that still reaches. And here are those little tabs. I don't know if you guys can see those tabs that stick out, just so that you don't put this against the wall and then you don't have good ventilation in the back. Now, the other thing that's nice about this is, I don't know if you guys see this right here, but I'll unscrew it and then unscrew this right here, and what you're going to see is a little tiny fuse. I think Tribest should probably include an extra fuse with their machines, just in case. This fuse normally should not blow, but should you overload the machine or should something happen, the fuse will blow in the dehydrator to prevent damage to the dehydrator or anything else, than popping your circuit breaker or something like that. So I do like that a lot. I have blown out other dehydrators and they have usually a fusible link, which, unless you're like somebody that works on electronics, is really non-user replaceable. But this fuse is user replaceable, so that's nice and very simple. And this is a MET certified, which is actually the commercial electric certification that they have. And it says, use only with a time delay fuse rated 6.3 amps, 125 volts. And let's talk about the wattage. If you guys are on solar, this is actually pulls 570 watts, which I think is like maybe 100 watts more than their Sedona Express model. So, this is just nice plastic construction. This is actually a non-flammable plastic construction on here. V0 is the rating. There is some venting on the side of the machine, on both sides, as well as, venting from the door. So what happens is the dehydrator pulls in air from behind, it heats it up, then it blows the warm air across the trays in a parallel fashion, and in this way, because it's blowing across the air parallel, it's getting more even drying than, say, one of those dehydrators that has the fan on the bottom that has to push the air up. Because as the air pushes up, it pushes through the food on the bottom, which then, number one, cools the air, number two, adds humidity because the moisture is evaporating out of whatever you're dehydrating. The air goes up, and basically now at the top, by the time the air gets up to the top, it's not as warm as the air on the bottom, so you'll get uneven drying. So I only like actually horizontal flow dehydrators. So next, looking at the front, they do have an upgraded actually handle that I like a lot on this model compared to the Sedona original Sedona or the Sedona Combo model. So it's actually, I think that's like stainless steel. And we open this up, there's some hinges on here that prevents the door from going all the way down, and then you could actually also easy close it. Let's go ahead and pull out the 9 trays to show you guys actually the back of the dehydrator and how this is different than their original Sedona model or their Sedona Combo model. Of course, these are all 9 stainless steel trays, which we'll be talking more about in a minute. I do have some comments on that. But once we get all these trays out, you guys can see in the back there's one nice big large grid, so this prevents you from getting your hands into the fan. And some other companies use some chintzy wire for the grid. This is like nice high quality stuff here. In addition, they have like one whole big huge fan in the back, although there is no fan shroud. But that could be good, because a fan shroud will direct the air in a certain area, whereas because there's no fan shroud, it'll direct the air like all over. The fan is fairly well centered in the middle. And let's go ahead and measure the width of the fan there, the fan blades. So the fan blades look to be about, to me, it's a 7-inch fan blade, and then there's a heating element behind it. So really dehydrators are not anything super technical. Basically it's a heating element with a fan and a box with some trays, and then of course the thing that sets the Sedona Supreme apart is the computer controls that we'll be going over in a little bit. Now, also what you guys are seeing in here is actually a drip tray, and this is something that, I believe should have been on dehydrators from the get-go. I've cleaned so many dehydrators when I've dripped things on the bottom, and the bottom is so hard to clean. Tribest does include a BPA-FREE drip tray, so that any drips you should get will basically go on the drip tray to make cleaning easier for you guys. And, making cleaning easier is always appreciated. So let's go ahead and put these trays back in, and let's go ahead and do some measurements actually in between the trays to see how big of items you can put on the Sedona Supreme Dehydrator. So now I want to measure for you guys the space in between the trays, right? In general, when you're dehydrating, you're going to want to cut things fairly thin. You don't want to cut things too thick. If you cut things too thick, they're not going to dehydrate effectively. You're going to get what's called case hardening, where the outside's going to basically dehydrate, but the air that's running past the food cannot really get the liquid out of the middle. This is especially important when dehydrating, kind of like flatbreads and things with grains. They can tend to like mold or kind of like ferment actually sometimes when you're dehydrating them if they are too thick. So I would always encourage you guys to slice things fairly thin. I don't know, about like at least I like to do like 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch max, and it depends on what you're dehydrating, of course. You could do a really thick piece of watermelon and it's going to basically reduce down to like nothing when you're done. But yeah, so, and the thing that I dehydrate the most is actually kale chips. So I'll harvest kale, collard greens out of my garden, chop them up, make a big salad with a salad dressing, put them in a bowl, and then basically I'll spread these on the trays, and sometimes they kind of fluff up a little bit. So like putting them in between these trays might be challenging, but the cool thing is on a horizontal flow dehydrator, you can just take out a tray, so now you have instantly a taller amount. So if you're putting something in that's nice and fluffy, like the kale, you could kind of have more clearance in there. Of course, if you want to even like make yogurt in this machine, no problem. You can take out a couple trays and you could put like jars with your coconut yogurt in there, set the temperature so you have precise temperature control on this machine, and you can basically ferment your yogurt inside the Sedona dehydrator without any issues by just simply removing a few extra trays. That being said, most of the time you may not be removing trays to dehydrate, and you'll just be putting things on the trays. And inside, I want to say they have 1,830 square inches of dehydration space, which I think works out to be like almost 18 square feet of dehydration space. Now this is about 28% approximately larger or more space than their Sedona Express model. That's the next model down from this model. I only would recommend actually you guys get the Sedona Express or the Sedona Extreme. I'm not a big fan of the original Sedona or the Combo. I found that with its smaller 2 fans, it just really didn't blow enough air and work as efficiently as I believe it should. Alright? Now, so anyways, in between the spacing of the trays here, it looks like we have approximately, pretty much straight up 1 inch. So that's really nice. Now, the one caveat I have, and this is a 9 tray dehydrator, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All 8 bottom trays actually have 1 inch spacing. 1 inch, 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 1 inch. But then you get to this top one, and I don't know if you guys could see that. Like, this is the control panel, this is the top tray. When you roll out this top tray, I mean, it literally is within like, it's so close to that top here. So I'm going to measure for you guys like the spacing in between there. So in between there, basically you have, looks like to me, about, it's about a 1/2 inch. So it's about half the spacing that you normally would have. So normally you have an inch clearance on this tray. You're going to have to put thinly cut things that are a 1/2 inch or less. That's not too bad. It looks a lot smaller than it is. But what I would recommend to Tribest is that they improve that. And how could they easily improve that? Well, if we look to the bottom where there's that drip tray, right? There's a good space between the drip tray and the next tray, and that's at least I don't know, maybe another 3/4 of an inch it looks like to me. So if they simply reduce some of the space so that this bottom tray kind of like, set more close to the bottom of the drip tray, they could have a little bit more space, and then they could even out this spacing at the top. So I don't know if they have like chefs that use the dehydrators on a regular basis to dehydrate, taller things, but this just kind of looks odd to me. And depending on what you're dehydrating, this may or may not affect your personal use, right? Because you could fill all the other trays with like tall stuff, and then this tray, that's my thin tray, just got to cut things thinner. Not a big deal, but you still got a 1/2 inch. So that's pretty much the inside. And then also with the dehydrator, you're going to get the instruction manual. So I would encourage you guys to look and read through the instruction manual for proper usage. It basically, and also the warranty card. And the main thing about this is that, this dehydrator, it's computer controlled. It's not super hard to use, but the first time you can't just turn it on and start pressing buttons and figure it out. It's a little bit more complicated than that. So that's what I'm going to do next for you guys. But before I do, actually, we're going to go ahead and plug it on. And we're going to do sound testing to find out, you know, how silent this dehydrator is. In general, the Sedona dehydrators have been always more silent than, say, the Excalibur brand dehydrators that tend to clunk and have a fan that's maybe not quite as balanced. So hopefully this guy is going to be pretty quiet today. Alright, so now we got this unit all plugged in, fired up, and ready to go. The nice thing about this is when you plug it in, it doesn't automatically turn on. They have an on and off switch conveniently and easily placed in the front. Some dehydrators put their on and off switch way in the back, which I think doesn't make a lot of sense. So I like the Tribest has it there in the front. Once you turn it on, this display will light up, and now you can program it. I want to get into the programming. It's really not hard. It's super simple, super easy. But before I do, I want to show you guys this feature. I don't know if you guys can see it, but basically, when you open the door on this, right, the light comes on, which is really cool. It's an LED light, energy efficient light, so you can kind of see what's going on inside your dehydrator when you open the door. The other thing about this model, unlike some other models, is when you open the door, the fan stops running. I can't tell you how this would save me on my current dehydrator that I'm using in my house. I'll open the door, and because things have been dehydrated so much, they get light, and I open the door, and things start flying out at me and like falling on my floor. So I appreciate that basically, you know, the dehydrator shuts the fan off temporarily while you open the door, while you're checking things, and when you close the door again, it starts back up. Anyways, let's go ahead and do a close-up on the control panel here, and I'll explain to you guys more about how to program and use the Sedona Supreme Dehydrator. So now I'm going to explain to you guys actually how to program and use a Sedona Supreme Dehydrator. Super simple, super easy. We're going to go ahead and turn it on. As you guys can see, the panel lights up. There's a few buttons on here. This one selects the different modes. So you could have a couple different modes. You have a fast mode where it dehydrates at the preset temperature that you set, and it'll vary above and below that temperature. Then you have a raw mode on the bottom here. And on the raw mode, that keeps your food raw. So if you set the temperature at 118, the temperature will never exceed 118 in the dehydrator. Other brand dehydrators can fluctuate and be even 5 to 10 degrees more than the temperature you set, which, you know, may not be what you want to do. And then in addition, they have a combo mode, 2 time to temperature, where it's a fast mode and the raw mode. So what you could do is you could set the first temperature to like 130, 140 degrees for a number of hours. It's going to dehydrate it at that temperature on the fast mode, so like it's going to fluctuate even above that. And then that's just to get the main liquid out of the food, because when you're dehydrating food originally, like tomatoes, right, there's a lot of moisture that needs to be evaporated off. So it's actually better to do it in a fast way to preserve more of the phytonutrients in the food. And then once it's getting more dry, there's less water content in there, then you could actually, it'll just jump to the raw mode and then stay at your preset temperature. And here's like a little example of the leading competitor here. That's the orange line. Leading competitor will basically fluctuate above and below the set temperature, and it can be actually quite high. So with the Sedona Supreme, you have the raw mode here, which shows the orange line is the set temperature and the green line is the temperature inside the dehydrator, which will actually never exceed the temperature you set. And then on the fast mode, this is the fast mode setting. On the fast mode, you have the orange line, and basically the temperature will go above and below, just fluctuating a little bit above and below, not as much as like the competitor model that can fluctuate significantly. And then of course you have the combo mode, where you will dehydrate at 2 different times at 2 different temperatures. First, you're going to dehydrate at a hotter temperature, and then you're going to go switch to the raw mode, for the final dehydration. So let's go ahead and learn how to program this. Super simple, super easy. Let's see, on-off mode, you have your display of the temperature, display of the time. You have a set button here, and then you have an up and down. So you could do 10 degrees or 10 hours plus or minus at a time, or plus or minus 1. And then you have a Fahrenheit and Celsius button and a start and pause button here. So the first thing, the easiest button is this guy, the Fahrenheit and Celsius. So if you look here, this is in Fahrenheit, and you can see it's Fahrenheit because that little digit right there that you guys are seeing, that's the Fahrenheit digit. So that's Fahrenheit. If you press this once, oops, it has to be has to be in a non-programming mode. You press this once and then it goes down to the C where the digit is lit up there. Now this is in Celsius, so for most Yanks and Americans we're going to have it in the fast mode, and you can see the temperature. It's set to 133. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set this in the fast mode, and then we're going to go ahead, we set the fast. Now we're just going to hit this button here to set it, and the temperature is going to blink. So then we could go up or down in temperature, and I want to show you guys the range of temperatures this could go to. So we're going to start at the bottom here. It goes to 83, 82, 81, 77 is the lowest you can set this dehydrator. And as far as I'm aware, this is the lowest temperature you could set any dehydrator. So this gives you the most flexibility if you want to just warm things up just ever so slightly. Maybe you're going to do some kind of bacterial culture that needs bacteria at a low temperature. This is the dehydrator. You will be able to do that. 77. And if we go to the highest, it goes to a maximum of 154 degrees. Of course, you could go up single digits, or you could go down by 10 if you need to get somewhere really fast. I think if I'm just on the fast mode, I'm just going to dehydrate it at about maybe like 113, right? And then you're going to hit the set button. It's going to move you to this side, and this is the timer. So this is how long in hours the dehydrator will run for you. And so once again, you could go up or down, and you could go all the way up to 99 hours. This machine will run for 99 hours straight and then turn itself automatically so that you don't have to. Or you could go down and you could run it for 1 hour. So you could just have it run it 1 hour and then turn itself off. This can be helpful to, like, say you want to wilt some kale or your lettuce, or spinach that I like to do. You could put a whole bunch of kale or spinach or lettuce fresh in here, run it for an hour at 113, and just running it to heat it up a little bit will take a lot of the moisture out and let it like sink down, so it's going to be able to easier to mix up and easier to eat even, changes the texture a little bit, so that could be useful too. And now the other thing you guys could do, you could actually go up from 99, and then there's a CO. You guys see that, the CO? CO means continuous running. So if you're in a commercial environment or you just want your dehydrator running 24/7 forever, literally until the power goes out, you could put it in the continuous mode, and the continuous mode will just keep running the dehydrator at the preset temperature until the end of time. So then we could set that, so we have it set at 113 continuous mode. We could hit the start button and the machine comes on, and you could barely hear that machine come on, right? It's just ever so quiet. So now we have a digital sound tester, and you can see when I'm talking really loud, it like goes up to like 90 something. And now we're just going to go ahead and let this dehydrator run in silence to see what the decibel is testing right here. So I'm going to say it's about 54 with the dehydrator running. Let's go ahead and turn it off. And so with the dehydrator off, looks like it was at 20 decibels, which is just nothing, no noise. Alright, so I think in the scheme of things, that's a fairly quiet dehydrator, just based on my memory from testing dehydrators before. I do have a video where I actually tested dehydrators. Check the link down below for a video on that. Alright, so that's the fast mode. Let's go ahead and go into the raw mode. Raw mode, setting the raw mode. You know, this little raw light will light up. It is green, a little bit hard to see there. But now you know you're in the raw mode. You could set that, and now you know it's actually set to 118 degrees, which is what I want. Of course, you could go up or down, set it to whatever temperature you'd like, but I want to set it at 118. If you're somebody into raw foods, you want to preserve the enzymes, then you could go to the timer here, and you could set this up to like, okay, I'm going to do kale chips. It's going to take, you know, I don't know, 36 hours. Let's go to 36 hours. Set it, so now we're at the raw mode, 118, 36 hours. Hit the start button. The machine comes on. There's a little light that blinks here letting you guys know that it's running, and the machine with its computer controls will automatically ensure the temperature does not exceed 118 degrees in the raw mode at any time. Once again, if you open the door up, the machine pauses and then the light comes on so you guys can see, wow, it's a little bit warm in there. And then once you close the door again, the machine automatically starts up until you hit the pause button there, and then you're ready to program again. Now the last mode we could do, and this is my favorite mode of them all, and I wish more dehydrators had this mode actually, It's the fast and raw mode. So this is the combo mode, or TST mode, 2 time to temperature. And so this allows you to do fast and raw. So how you program this, super simple, super easy. You're going to be programming 2 times and 2 temperatures. So once you have it fast and raw lit up, so you got a red light and a green light, and then you're going to hit the set button, and this is going to set the first fast mode, because a fast is blinking there. And we're going to set the fast mode. We want this to run, I like to do like 133 degrees, and we're just going to go ahead and hit the set button. It goes over to the timer, and on the timer on this, we're going to go ahead and set it up to like 3 hours, and then we hit set. So then what that's going to do is that's going to run the dehydrator for 133 degrees for 3 hours, and then after the 3 hours is up, then it's going to drop down to this temperature, which I have as 118 degrees, which we'll hit the set button, and then it's going to go for 36 hours total, right? So 133 and 3 hours, review that, 118, 36 hours, good to go. We could hit the start button, and now what's going to happen is the dehydrator is running. It shows you it's on the fast mode, 133 degrees for 3 hours. After 3 hours has elapsed, then it will drop down to the 118 degrees for the rest of the time that I programmed it. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the Sedona Supreme Dehydrator. As you guys saw, I mean, it's a pretty basic unit. Stainless steel trays, 9 trays, large capacity that the Tribest has. I do like the stainless steel trays over the plastic trays that were on the original Sedona model and the Sedona Combo model. I do like that this actually has a large area, and I actually also like the little LED light. Let's see, I like the drip tray a lot. I don't like that this top tray has very little clearance in there. I do like and feel that we're getting fairly good airflow among all the different trays through the nice larger fan in the back. So I mean, there's not much not to like about this unit. You know, this is a commercial quality unit with commercial electric certification, so you know, it's going to be really safe for you guys to use in your commercial application or your home. And once again, it has that continuous feature that can be quite important in a commercial environment when, you know, other machines might turn themselves off automatically, and then you're like, hey, we need those, you know, those wraps for the meal tonight that we're making, and it didn't dehydrate because the machine turned itself off, right? So the last part of this episode, I just want to share with you guys some of my tips on dehydrating. I've been dehydrating for a long time now. As much as I like these stainless steel trays that the Sedona Supreme Dehydrator comes with, the challenge, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, could be some items can stick more to the trays, and actually then you'll have to get them off and then clean the trays, which cleaning stuck on food on stainless steel, I mean, basically you got to soak them, and then it's just going to melt right off, and you could wash it. But you know, I like to save time and not have to soak things or scrub things really hard or use like a spatula and pry like tomatoes off. And tomatoes, due to their high water content, basically the water will come out of the tomatoes as it's dehydrating and literally act as a glue as the tomatoes dehydrate on the stainless steel tray. If you're doing something like eggplant or bell peppers are great. You know, you guys can just put those on the stainless steel tray, because bell peppers, pretty much, they don't have a lot of liquid content, and they won't actually end up sticking to your tray as badly, especially if you have the skin side down, as the tomatoes would. Now, there are some solutions for that, as well as solutions for dehydrating liquids that literally, if you pour like a, you know, you make a fruit roll-ups, you could just blend a lot of bananas, and I recommend using a vacuum blender, but blend your bananas before putting it on the tray, and then you just roll that out. You can't just put liquid on these, on the stainless steel mesh. It'll just fall right through. So there are some different materials you guys can use. We'll go over them. So the first one is actually known as a PTFE, or people want to call them Teflex. Can't really say that because it's brand name or whatever. Or Teflon coated sheets. These are just basically fiberglass sheets that are washable and reusable literally an infinite amount of times. Do not ever soak the Teflex or the nonstick sheets in the water. That can destroy them. So just wipe them off and you know, clean them when you're done. And so there's pros and cons to every different sheets that I'll be talking about. This one I like because it's probably the most non-stick. It's really easy to get fruit roll-ups off this, to peel them off. I mean, you could dehydrate tomatoes on here. Now the challenge with any sheet is, because if we're just dehydrating on the stainless steel, you guys could see through there. And if you could see through there, that means the airflow could go through there. That means the airflow is dehydrating things on the bottom as well as on the top as the air is blowing across. But if you have a sheet on here, air can still flow across the top, but then the bottom air can't flow through there, so the bottoms are not going to dehydrate as quickly as the tops. So that means when you're using something like this sheet, you may have to flip items over about halfway through dehydration because the top will be dried, but the bottom will not. Many times when I'm flipping things over halfway through, I'll just flip things over. If it's dry enough, I'll just remove the Teflex sheet, so now I'll be just dehydrating on the main plastic tray, or stainless steel tray. Now another option that Tribest offers is the silicone mat. So you can also dehydrate on silicone, which is more natural in my opinion than the Teflon coated or PTFE, and probably safer too at the same time. The challenge I have with the silicone is that while it is also non-stick, I don't find it to be quite as non-stick as the PTFE. And also it is thicker, so that'll increase your dehydration time in addition. So, they do have pre-cut sizes of the non-stick PTFE and the silicone for the trays. Now something Tribest also does, which is kind of unique, is they will also offer you guys one of these guys, which is a polypropylene or PP polypropylene tray. Or sheet to go on top. Once again, there is some thickness to this. This is actually thicker than probably either of the other two. So if you guys are using this is a BPA-free plastic. It probably also will increase your time. And this kind of reminds me of like one of those plastic flexible cutting boards, right? So you could also dehydrate this. Now this is not as non-stick as the other two. And actually, personally, I don't like to use either three of these at this point in my life anymore. What I use instead is this stuff. And this is my tip to you guys. I just use this stuff. It's actually called a non-stick parchment paper. Great for baking, lining, and steaming. It should say dehydrating on there, but it doesn't. And actually, I get mine at Sam's Club. Sam's Club's the cheapest place. Yes, cheaper than Costco in this instance. To buy this, you could also get it like at Walmart or even your local grocery store, but you're going to pay a lot more money. This is like a super jumbo box of 205 square feet. And anyways, it just looks like this. So I mean, literally this is just like parchment paper that is lined with the silicone, so it's actually non-stick. And what I do is I just basically will roll this out, and look at this. It just about fits the Sedona Supreme perfectly edge to edge. This is a 15-inch wide swath, so literally you just roll out 15 inches and then slice it off, and then just put that on. Now the cool thing about this is, number one, it's thin. Paper is a lot thinner than the PTFE, than any of the sheets that you guys saw. So I like to just use this stuff. I find that when I'm dehydrating tomatoes, for example, I could use this to dehydrate tomatoes on so that my tomatoes don't get stuck to the stainless steel, so it's easier to clean. And then they basically fall off fairly easily on this. They rarely ever get stuck on this silicone non-stick parchment paper. I'm also feeling comfortable because this is a lot safer than the PTFE. It's thinner, so it also dehydrates faster. And the other thing is, I could dehydrate tomatoes on this once, maybe use it a second or third time, and then after that, then I basically shred this, and it gets composted in my composter. So there's like no waste, basically. And plus, this stuff's really cheap. Plus, the other thing is, I don't have to clean it. I don't have to clean sheets. I don't have to clean PTFE sheets. I have to clean my trays. I just basically compost this. And so, sometimes they get roughed up after one time or two times. I just did a batch of kale chips, and I could get like 3 batches of kale chips out of it. And yeah, you get some stuck on food, but things come off pretty easily, and then I'll just keep going, right? That's my tip to you guys. I'd actually probably encourage you guys to get the non-stick parchment instead of some of the reusable ones, but if you don't like wasting things and rebuying parchment all the time, then get some of the reusable ones. You can just wash them off and clean. And each one's a little bit different, depending on your specific situation. Like, I don't know that I'd ever do fruit roll-ups on my parchment, because as well as parchment does release fairly well on like crackers and cookies, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for doing something so liquidy and gooey. Then I would actually go with the PTFE, right? So then you want to get that because that's going to release definitely the easiest without having things stuck on. So I mean, I think that's pretty much it for the episode today, reviewing and talking about the Sedona Supreme Dehydrator from Tribest. I think they got a real winner here if you're in a commercial environment, want a good solid heavy-duty machine with a good 10-year warranty with a lot of space on stainless steel trays. The Sedona Supreme is definitely it. If you guys are looking to buy the Sedona Supreme Dehydrator, make sure you click the link down below in the description or the first comment so you guys can buy it from me at discountjuicers.com. This allows me to continue to make my educational review videos so I can continue to educate people about the different appliances that allow you to eat more fruits and vegetables. So I do appreciate you guys that order from me, and thank you guys that have ordered from me in the past. We also do have a price match policy, so should you find the Sedona Supreme or any other product we sell at Discount Juicers for a lower delivered price, I'm glad to match that if I'm able. So be sure also to click that little contact link in the description below to send me a message if you do find a lower price. That being said, I would encourage you guys to support me at regular price. This allows me to keep my lights on and continue to buy my food and pay all my bills, so I appreciate that so much. Also, if you guys like this episode with the Sedona Supreme, want more videos with the Sedona Supreme, hey, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Get lots of thumbs up, so I'll maybe do some comparisons between this and maybe like the commercial Excalibur dehydrator that cost, you know, significantly more than this guy. And also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on any of my new and upcoming episodes. I've come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know what new appliance or a juicer or vacuum blender I will be comparing. And also make sure you click the little bell so you guys get notified when my new episodes come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. I have mostly videos on comparing juicers to each other. I also have many videos on the dehydrators, something that is integral into my diet and lifestyle of eating more plants, because it allows you to basically take them with you and preserve them, preserve your harvest so that you can eat them when, you otherwise wouldn't. And finally, be sure to share this video with somebody else that may be interested in the Sedona Supreme so they can learn more about it, how it works, the different features, as well as how to program it, which actually really wasn't that hard at all. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors.